All right, so you've broken your collarbone. Landry and I are going to talk about the next steps. What our experiences are, and yeah, how you can go forward with your race season. Landry, I'm gonna kick it over here to you, and yeah, ask you how your break was, what it was like, and how long you took to get surgery. Walk me through it.
Oh, well, I am a pro collarbone breaker actually, because I've had three broken collarbones. And they were all a little bit different. So, first one was just like clean snap right through the middle. And I think I ended up getting surgery maybe a week later. And the recovery for that one was pretty quick because it was just a broken bone. I didn't have any ligament damage. And I think I was back riding the trainer within a few days after I had surgery, actually. And then it was only 2 weeks, I think, since I was able to get outside after that. And I wanted to say that I wasn't supposed to ride outside, but I did anyways, and I was able to. So that one was not too bad, and the recovery was pretty quick. But interestingly enough, that one hurt the most when I broke it because it just was straight in the middle and just like totally snapped. The second one was different. It was on the other collarbone, and it was at the very end, and it snapped right at the AC joint and lofted up in the air there. So I had a grade 5 AC joint separation and a broken collarbone at the same time. And that one actually didn't hurt as bad, strangely, but there was a ton of ligament damage. And so this one took forever because we had to find the right, this was a much more complex injury. So we had to find the right person to do the job. It took me 3 weeks, I think, to get surgery. So for about 3 weeks, my collarbone was just like red up here, about to rip through the skin. I went to school with it like that, and I actually was able to ride the trainer a little bit before I had surgery. And then I got surgery, and then I couldn't ride the trainer for another 2 weeks. So again, it was about 2 weeks after surgery, but I wasn't able to ride outside for 6 weeks. So it had been about 2 months since I was able to ride outside again. So with the ligament damage, that one took a lot longer, and that was about 6 weeks before I was able to ride outside. And that one I also had to do a lot of PT for because my mobility was really limited. So anyways, if you have ligament damage, it can take a lot longer just because that takes a lot more time to heal. And then my third one was kind of a combination between the first two. So it was like a little bit more towards the middle, but I did have some ligament damage, but it wasn't quite as bad. It was still, I actually had surgery the next day because the collarbone was about to like rip through my skin. So they were like, oh, we have to do this the next day or else it's gonna like rip through his skin basically. So that was an uncomfortable night of sleep, but they did it the next day, which was really nice. And then, oh man, it was probably, I think it was another 6 weeks before I was able to ride outside. I didn't have to do any PT for that one because my range of motion wasn't as limited, but that one took forever to heal. It was probably 3 months before it felt actually maybe 3.5 months before it was totally back to normal to where I was able to like lift weights again on it and stuff. I had to be really careful on that one. So totally varied. I think if you just break the bone, your recovery is going to be a lot faster. If you get ligament damage, it can be a lot longer.
Yeah, it seems like everyone I've talked to has had a totally different experience, like ranging from 3 days to back on the bike to like 5 weeks to back on the bike. It could really, yeah, it seems like it can really vary, and the ligaments definitely have a big role in it. I think the biggest thing that I've gotten so far is like get that surgery if you need it as soon as possible, because yeah, just sitting around with
Oh,
your
totally.
collarbone broken is kind of the worst
Sucks.
part. That's what I experienced. I still had an early surgery. It was like 3 days after my collarbone break, but those 3 days you're just sitting around, not even able to heal at all.
Right.
You're just
Just
like,
want to get it over with.
yeah, yeah,
The, I mean, the third time, so the second time we had to wait 3 weeks to get surgery on it, which was awful because it's like basically once you get the surgery, your recovery starts all over again.
yeah,
And so whenever I broke my third collarbone, and they came in, they're like, oh, we can do this the next day. And then my mom is like, oh no, we want to take him home and have him, take him to the orthopedist that we saw last time, make sure we find the right person to do it. I'm like, Mom, like, please let's just do this now. Let's get it over with. So fortunately that worked out. But
Yeah, that is nice. How long were you on the trainer before you were comfortable with doing a getting outside ride? Like with the first break, that was a little simpler. That's pretty similar to what mine is, and I'm going
yeah,
through right now, still on the trainer, trying to figure out how to go outside. So, what was your
yeah.
experience with that?
Um, that one, so since I didn't have any ligament damage on that one, it was a lot. I didn't have a big issue like reaching my bars. It didn't take me as long to get to the point where I could do that. It was just more kind of like weak, like I wasn't able to support myself as well. I definitely went outside way earlier than I should have. I remember, I think when I first started getting outside, I was definitely not able to hold on to the handlebars as well as I could have. I was still able to ride, but I almost kind of viewed it as PT in and of itself for my shoulder. So I just kind of kept riding. I think I'd say maybe it was a month on from the surgery that I was able to kind of ride pretty normally. Yeah,
It seems like it's really good to take time if you can. Like if you're in off season, that's for me. It was the perfect time to
right.
break a collarbone because I just take a natural off season. But like during the
Yeah.
season, even still, you're itching to get back on the bike, but
Oh yeah. That's
listen to
this
your
first
doctor.
one was in January, so I was like, oh no, I was gonna race it in 2 months, so I was definitely rushing to get back on. Whereas the last one was end of July, and I was like, well, my season is over anyway. So
Yeah, sometimes you have to cancel the end of the season, which I mean I've had to cancel cross a little bit at the beginning here, and that's all right. I think yeah, it's definitely good to listen to what your doctors say about the thing. Obviously, um, don't rush into it too early. I tried to jump on the bike yesterday outside, and I did like 5 minutes up the hill, and I was like, this is not going to end well if it ends poorly, you know.
yeah,
Like
you think you're ready, and then you get out there, you're like, oh no, I can't do this.
yeah, I had like there was a girl that kicked a ball in front of me, and I like had to break and stop and grab the ball, and I was like, "Oh, buddy, like stopping at stop signs is gonna be a rough
Right.
time for me." Um, but yeah, it's an interesting and very particular recovery from what I've seen. Like some people break it like a lot. You know, there are a lot of different bone fractures in there, and that can take even longer, even if it's not a ligament problem. So yeah, that seems like a big time, and most of us are not making money on the bike, so take your time, get back on there. What do you feel like was the hardest part of PT? Like I'm starting with a little bit of PT and mobility stuff right now, just kind of experiencing that. But yeah, per collarbone break, what was the hardest part of the PT? Was it the mobility or actually getting strength back in it?
Interestingly enough, I only had to do PT for the second one. They didn't even, well, actually, the first one they recommended it, and I went in and they're like, oh, he doesn't need PT here. He has full range of motion. And then the third one, I thought they would, and they didn't, and I ended up being okay. The second one, I had to do a lot of PT, and it was the most annoying thing was just being committed with it and having to do it, having to go to the PT every like 3 times per week, and you're in there for an hour just doing these cumbersome exercises. So just more so the annoyance of doing it, but knowing that you have to do it or else you're not going to be able to function normally. So yeah, that was definitely super annoying. Getting the strength back, I think, is something that just kind of happens naturally over time as you just return to normal activity. So just even like walking around, eventually you can support yourself, and then eventually you can reach for that glass out of the cabinet or whatever. And I actually felt like riding the trainer was good once I was able to, was actually good to strengthen my shoulder kind of as sort of a PT exercise of just getting used to doing what I do anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. So were you using like dumbbells at first, or like getting back to strength? It was mostly like mobility, I would imagine. How was the one that they said you didn't need PT? Because I have the same experience with the guy. He was like, "Oh, I'll see you in a month, and then you'll probably be good to go." It was like no
Mhm.
PT, you're not going
Yeah.
anywhere. Figure it out. Were you doing a lot of mobility stuff? How did you regain that mobility?
On the first one,
Yeah, on any of them, but first one
Um,
first.
yeah, I didn't really do anything for that one. This was back when I was like a gung-ho teenager and didn't really do any strength training of any sort because I was just like, I don't know, I was dumb. So I was just like, oh, this one world tour guy said he doesn't do any gym work, so I'm just gonna, I don't know. That was back in the day when we didn't do a lot of gym work.
Do you wish you had done some like mobility or gym work? Do you think that would have like cushioned your fall at all, or was it the type of fall where you were probably going to break your collarbone either way?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wish that I had started doing strength training from the beginning, but I didn't because when I started writing, we still had a lot of these old school mindsets, and I mean, I wasn't like you. I didn't come from like other sport background. Like I didn't play football or anything. I started writing when I was like 14, and I cycling was like the only thing I did, so I never really had that strength built up or the muscle built up. And so I wish early on I would have focused more on that. And I probably, maybe I wouldn't have broken a three collarbones if that was the case, because I would have had better bone density or I would have been able to cushion my fall better. Who knows? Um, so, anyways, if we're talking preventing collarbone, I do wonder how many collarbones could be prevented if we were better about our strength training or our nutrition. Like, they might not be half as common. So,
Yeah, cyclists are really notorious for the little T-Rex body, big legs, little
right.
arms. I think a little bit, just a dash of preventative exercise can really help out. And like I have like mountain biking clients where yeah, we're doing plenty of upper body stuff just for the demands of mountain biking.
Oh, totally. I do. I mean, I think everybody should do upper body just for injury prevention, but just to be a healthy human being. I mean, it's not all about cycling, and you need to be able to function as a healthy person. And but I mean, even for road cycling, I think upper body has been really beneficial. I mean, my arms getting out of the saddle, my arms used to get really tired, and I love doing like bent over rows or chest press or something like that. And now I can ride out of the saddle for 10 minutes. My arms won't get tired.
Yeah, a lot of upper body can play into your stability on the bike
Hmm.
too. I mean, your
Totally.
arms are a part of the steering of the bike, so
Absolutely.
having smoothness there can really help. What kind of exercises do you tend to prescribe for yeah, for upper body stuff? What are your clients working with there?
Yeah, my favorite one is bent over rows with like dumbbells. So kind of you hold the dumbbells like you are if you would hold the handlebars and you sort of hinge at, I guess, what is that? 45, 40, 30 degrees. I don't know. You kind of hinge like this, bent over row, and then just do 10, 15 reps and kind of really like focus on stabilizing your core. And I like to kind of get in the same position that I would be on the bike. And I feel like it's really good for core stability and grip strength and riding out of the saddle, like pulling on the bars, or even if just if you like hit a pothole, and you have the ability to really grip on. So I love bent over rows, and I think just for like really working the shoulders, any kind of shoulder press or bent over or bench press or something like that. I think those are the two big ones that I like to do. Nothing fancy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think bent over rows are probably the most common. I give those all the time where it is like the opposite movement of essentially how you're supporting yourself on the bike, but it can really help in like correcting posture, getting
Hmm.
those scapulas a little farther back, and really helping with that grip strength too. Do you
Totally.
ever do any like lat pull downs or pull ups or chin ups or anything like that?
I don't do that one too often. I'm sure it has its benefits, but a lot of times I can do like three pull-ups and then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get tired. And then I kid you not, almost all the time when I want to do the lat pull down machine, somebody else is using it at my
Mm.
gym. So
Yeah, that's a pretty standard one for sure. Cool. Well, I think we covered a lot of the bases here. We can open up for questions in the comments there. Kind of jump into those, but yeah, I think we've got a good idea of how you can expect your collarbone injury to go. It's not the end of the world. It's a pretty common cycling injury, if not the most common break in cycling. So you'll be able to get back in there. Take your time, let it heal, get your PT in if you have to, and listen to your doctor, please. This has been Landry Bobo, and I'm Will Harden. We're both coaches with EVOQ, so come check us out, and we'll help you with all your coaching needs. And if you want to start strength training for cycling, we've got that too, and we've got the experience of breaking bones. So if you want to hear that, we've got it.
Will's got a while to catch up to me though, man. You
Yeah,
got two more to go.
I've got two more collarbone breaks, and then we'll be on the same level. All right, cool. Thanks, Landry.
Thanks.